Have you ever wondered what truly goes through someone's mind when you suddenly disappear from their life? I'm not talking about just pulling back a little or taking some space. I'm talking about completely vanishing, cutting off all contact as if you never existed. When you make the decision to disappear, something powerful happens. You force them to face a brutal reality. They took you for granted. They grew comfortable with you always being there, always being an option, without ever truly valuing your presence. But the moment you decide enough is enough and start pulling away, that's when they begin to feel the sting of loss. Suddenly, your absence becomes impossible to ignore. They may have believed they could always keep you in their orbit, but now, with you gone, they're left to confront their own doubts, insecurities, and the painful realization that they've lost something they never thought they could lose. Your sudden departure turns the tables completely, and the power dynamic shifts in ways they never saw coming. You were never just an option for them, you were always the prize. And now, they have to live with the consequences of taking you for granted. The sting of rejection. The sting of rejection is one of those visceral, gut-wrenching experiences that can echo far beyond the initial moment it occurs. Imagine it like a sharp, sudden jolt, a cold wave that cuts through you when you least expect it, leaving a lingering ache that only intensifies with each passing second. It's not just the rejection itself that stings, but the realization of what could have been, the dream of connection, validation, or love that was so close, now suddenly out of reach. At its core, rejection exposes a raw vulnerability we all tried to keep hidden, like a secret that, once revealed, makes us feel fragile and exposed. It isn't just a no, it's the crushing feeling that we weren't enough, that we didn't measure up to someone's expectations or desires. It's the quiet, sometimes even unspoken message that we don't belong in the narrative someone else is writing. And that, in itself, is a powerful blow to the ego. What's most intriguing about rejection, however, is its paradox. It can be an invitation to grow. The sting cuts deep, but within that wound lies the potential for transformation. It forces us to confront our own insecurities, fears, and needs, revealing the parts of ourselves that we were perhaps too afraid to face. It's a moment that can either paralyze us or propel us forward into a stronger, more self-aware version of who we are meant to be. But while rejection leaves its mark, it also reveals our capacity to heal, to rise from the ashes of hurt, and to learn how to embrace ourselves, not because of someone else's approval, but in spite of the sting. The emptiness that lingers after a deep loss or a sudden disconnection is a haunting, hollow feeling that settles deep within the chest, making you question not just what you've lost, but who you've become in its absence. It's not just a quiet space, it's a vast, echoing void where everything once had meaning, now feels irrelevant. The kind of emptiness that makes you stare at the world around you as if you're watching from a distance, unable to truly engage, as if something fundamental is missing, and you can't quite put your finger on what it is. It's a strange, almost surreal experience, as though you've been left behind in a place where time is suspended. The moments that once filled you with passion, purpose, and connection now feel distant and flat, like an old photo that's faded beyond recognition. Your thoughts drift endlessly, not to the future, but to a past that no longer exists, a reality that's slowly slipping away. And in that slip, you find yourself empty, suspended between who you were and who you are yet to become. What makes this emptiness so compelling, though, is its power to reshape you. It's like the stillness after a storm. The sky may look bare, but it's clearing the way for new possibilities. It's the disorienting silence after the chaos that allows you to reassemble yourself, to rediscover what truly matters. The emptiness, while suffocating, can act as a mirror, showing you the spaces you've neglected within yourself. It forces you to confront your own desires, your own identity, and the parts of you that were once filled with someone else's presence but can now be filled with something far more authentic, your own self. In its deepest moments, the emptiness feels like a void that will never be filled. But the truth is, it is only empty because it's waiting for you to realize that you are the one capable of filling it, with your own strength, your own vision, and your own capacity for growth. It's in that very emptiness that you find your power, waiting patiently for you to embrace it. Overwhelming curiosity is that magnetic force, pulling you relentlessly toward the unknown, like a fire that consumes your mind with questions that seem to have no end. It starts as a subtle itch, an unanswered thought, a flicker of interest, but it quickly grows into an insatiable thirst, compelling you to dig deeper, search further, and connect the dots that were once distant and disconnected. It's not a curiosity born from boredom or mere fascination. It's a hunger that gnaws at you, making the ordinary extraordinary, as if every word, every moment, every glance carries with it a secret waiting to be uncovered. There's a certain thrill in this kind of curiosity, like standing at the edge of an uncharted ocean, knowing that behind the horizon, something transformative lies in wait. It's not just about satisfying your intellect. No, this curiosity gets under your skin, pulling on emotional threads, awakening desires and questions you didn't even know were there. It's a kind of mental and emotional magnetism, urging you to peel back the layers of a person, a situation, or even your own beliefs and past experiences. Every discovery feels like an exhilarating rush, but with each answer you find, more questions arise, pulling you deeper into the labyrinth of your own thoughts. It's often a quiet kind of obsession. On the surface, you may seem distracted, but in reality, your mind is racing, sifting through possibilities, imagining outcomes, plotting connections. What seems trivial to others becomes profound to you, because within it lies the potential for deeper understanding or an unexpected revelation. You can't help but wonder what lies beneath the surface, what others are hiding, or how one small piece of the puzzle might change everything. And when this curiosity is directed towards someone, when you begin to see them not just as a person, but as a complex riddle to be solved, it can consume you in a way nothing else can. Each conversation feels like a treasure hunt, each gesture a clue, each silence a message. You find yourself dissecting their words, actions, and even their inactions, searching for patterns, uncovering motives, and imagining worlds within worlds. It's a curious dance of push and pull, as you seek answers, but the deeper you go, the more you realize that the mystery only grows. Overwhelming curiosity, at its best, is not about finding closure, it's about the journey itself. It's the delicious uncertainty, the constant, ever-evolving search that drives you forward. And in that search, you become someone different, shaped by the answers you seek and the questions that never stop. It's not just the answers you crave, but the transformation that comes with seeking them. Deep self-reflection is like stepping into a dark, quiet room and facing a mirror that shows not just your outer self, but the very core of who you are. It's not a glance in the mirror you take in passing, but a slow, deliberate gaze into the depths of your own soul, where the truth lies hidden beneath layers of distractions, fears, and surface-level assumptions. It's a journey inward, where the questions aren't about who you appear to be, but who you truly are beneath all the masks, the habits, and the roles you've played in the world. This kind of self-reflection demands a certain bravery, a willingness to strip away the armor of your ego and look at yourself in the rawest form possible. It's like peeling an onion, each layer revealing more of your vulnerability, your desires, your flaws, and your hidden strengths. The deeper you go, the more uncomfortable it can get, because you're forced to confront the parts of you that you've either overlooked or tried to bury. But it's also where the magic happens. In the discomfort, you start to uncover the patterns, the wounds, the triumphs, and the potential that makes you who you are. The intrigue lies in the mystery of it all. The more you reflect, the more you realize how much there is to discover about yourself. Every time you think you've unlocked one door, another opens. You begin to understand your reactions, your choices, your deepest motivations, what drives you, what holds you back, what you've been avoiding. In the process, you also start to question the stories you've told yourself about your life, and in doing so, you rewrite those narratives with more awareness, more wisdom. It's not just an intellectual exercise. Deep self-reflection is an emotional alchemy. It turns your past experiences, whether painful or joyful, into powerful lessons, refining you, reshaping your identity. You start to connect the dots between the person you thought you were and the person you're becoming, recognizing that growth isn't always linear. Sometimes it's messy, sometimes it's silent, but always it's profound. In the end, deep self-reflection is about transformation. It's about uncovering the truth that lies beneath your daily thoughts, actions, and fears, and then using that insight to live with more clarity, more authenticity. It's like being a sculptor of your own soul, chiseling away at the stone of your own doubts and uncertainties to reveal the masterpiece of your potential. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it, because in the silence of reflection, you come to realize that the greatest journey you'll ever take is the one inward. The urge to pursue you is like a quiet storm brewing beneath the surface of someone's mind, unpredictable yet powerful, gaining momentum as they start to recognize what they once had and lost. It's a shift that catches them off guard, like realizing they've been walking away from something that's calling them back with an undeniable pull. At first, they might have convinced themselves that they were fine, that your presence in their life wasn't essential, or perhaps they didn't even realize how much they depended on it until it was no longer there. This urge doesn't begin as a loud, dramatic feeling. Instead, it starts small, a subtle whisper in the back of their mind. Maybe it's the way they remember the way you laughed, the way your presence grounded them in a chaotic world, or the way you always seemed to understand them in ways no one else could. Slowly, this memory becomes more like a hunger, a need to close the distance between you both. It's not about pride anymore, it's about something much deeper, an emotional void they hadn't expected to feel. At first, the thought of reaching out feels like a risk, and they hesitate, unsure if it's too late, or if you'll even welcome them back. But the urge grows stronger with each passing day. They might tell themselves they just miss your energy, your attention, your spark, but deep down, they know it's something far more significant. It's a realization that the connection they let slip away was rare, and that something they took for granted has now become a treasure they want back. For some, the desire to pursue you comes with an intense realization of how much effort you once put in, how much you gave them, how much you invested in the relationship, whether romantic or otherwise. Suddenly, they're left to contend with the growing feeling that they weren't there when it mattered. And now, the very thing they once had is slipping through their fingers like sand. They might test the waters slowly, liking your posts, sending a casual message, or perhaps trying to gauge what you're doing through mutual friends. But even these small gestures feel loaded, like they're walking on eggshells, knowing full well that the power dynamic has shifted. What once was predictable and comfortable is now uncertain, and with this uncertainty comes a quiet desperation. And this is where the intrigue lies. You are no longer an option that can be taken for granted. You've become something to be pursued, and with each step they take to reel you back in, they are reminded of the power you've reclaimed. You are the one who has become the chase, and they are now scrambling to find a way back to something they should never have let go. This pursuit is both an emotional and psychological tug-of-war, an overwhelming desire that begins to take on a life of its own. It's no longer about just wanting to restore the past. It's about needing to fix the mistake they made by not valuing you sooner. The more they feel the void, the more they're drawn toward you, not out of ego or desperation alone, but out of the undeniable truth that what you shared was worth more than they ever realized. As the chase intensifies, you stand in your power, having already moved forward, knowing that you are the prize now. The urge to pursue you is their realization of their own loss, and the power you hold is in your ability to choose whether it's worth your time. You no longer chase after anyone, you've become the one who is pursued, and their effort to win you back is a testament to the value you bring. The tables have turned, and now they're the ones hoping to earn your favor once again. The battle between relief and regret. The battle between relief and regret is like a fierce inner war, where two powerful forces collide within someone's heart and mind, each vying for dominance. It's the moment when the absence of your presence starts to take on a weight that they never expected, and they're forced to reckon with the consequences of their actions. At first, there's relief. There's a fleeting sense of freedom, a brief exhale, as if the pressure of your attention, your expectations, your connection, has been lifted. It's the illusion of space, of independence, a chance to breathe and recalibrate, without you. But this relief doesn't last long. In the quiet aftermath of your absence, that initial sense of ease begins to fade like the fleeting thrill of running away from something that's never really left. Slowly, the emptiness creeps in. It begins as a whisper. Was this really what I wanted? Did I make the right choice? The relief turns sour, and regret starts to seep in, subtle at first, like the first cracks in a foundation. What they once thought was freedom now feels hollow, like they've traded something irreplaceable for a temporary sense of space. It's the regret of realizing that what they had with you was more significant than they ever understood at the time. The dinners, the conversations, the small moments that seemed trivial back then, all of it now echoes in their mind as they grapple with the absence. The relief they felt is now a distant memory, replaced by the suffocating weight of what they let slip away. And it's not just regret for losing you, it's regret for not valuing the connection when it was alive, for taking you and what you offered for granted. The internal struggle intensifies when they start to question if they've lost you for good. The relief they once felt has vanished, replaced by the sharp sting of realizing that they may have missed their chance, and now the door feels permanently closed. This is where the battle becomes a storm within them, a fight between wanting to move on and facing the raw truth that they can never undo what they've done. The longing to reach out, to make things right, fights against the nagging doubt that it's too late, that their actions have already spoken louder than any words they could say now. For someone new, this battle is like walking through a fog of self-doubt. They wonder if they should have given you more time, more effort. They ask themselves why they didn't see the potential before, why they allowed other distractions to overshadow what was truly meaningful. With every passing day, the regret intensifies. For someone from the past, the regret is even deeper. The weight of history, of shared memories, makes it impossible to ignore how wrong they were in taking you for granted. Now, regret has become a permanent shadow, following them as they try, and fail, to fill the void with other distractions. But here's the most intriguing part: through all of this, the battle between relief and regret doesn't just shift the balance of power between them and you. It shifts something within them, too. As regret slowly chips away at the relief they once felt, they're forced to confront the fact that the distance between you isn't just a physical space. It's emotional, psychological, and it demands change. Their regret is not just a feeling, it's a reckoning. And in that reckoning, they're forced to ask themselves, was it worth it? And if I truly want to make things right, how do I overcome the wall I built with my own actions? For you, standing strong amidst their turmoil, the battle between relief and regret is a reminder that your worth was never dependent on them. The storm they're navigating is not yours to carry, it's theirs to resolve. And as they struggle to reconcile what they've lost with the truth of your absence, you remain grounded in the knowledge that you never needed them to validate your worth. Their regret is their journey to reckon with, not yours. But if they truly want to earn back your presence, they must first confront the deepest truths of their own heart. The desire to play the game. The desire to play the game is a deeply rooted instinct that emerges when someone feels the control slipping from their grasp. It's a subtle yet powerful move, a last-ditch effort to regain dominance and manipulate the situation in their favor, all while avoiding the vulnerability of honest confrontation. At this point, they can no longer deny it. The dynamic has shifted. You're no longer the one chasing, you're no longer the one trying. And they can't stand it. So, what do? They play the game. This isn't just a simple attempt to get your attention, it's a calculated maneuver, born from insecurity and the desperate need to feel powerful again. They know the rules, they know how to test boundaries, and now they'll use all their tricks to provoke a reaction from you. Maybe it starts with an aloof indifference, pretending they've moved on, playing the role of the unaffected one. They act like they don't care, as though you're the one chasing them now. It's a classic power move, meant to spark a flicker of doubt in your mind. Will they come running back? They wonder, watching carefully for any sign of vulnerability in you. But here's the twist. While they're busy orchestrating this charade, you're already a step ahead. The game they're trying to play is built on a fragile foundation of pride and ego, and you see through it. It's not about being cold or indifferent to their advances. It's about recognizing that their behavior is a reflection of their own uncertainty. When someone plays games, it's because they're not confident enough to just be real. They're too afraid of showing their true feelings, too afraid of losing control. They hope that if they act indifferent, you'll chase them, and they'll get the satisfaction of being wanted. But here's the secret no one tells them: acting indifferent doesn't make you attractive. It just exposes how deeply insecure they are, how desperate they are to feel the validation they once had. And you, standing on the outside, can see it clearly. The game they're trying to play is no longer a challenge for you. It's a reminder of how far you've come, how much you've evolved. For someone new, this game might feel like an unspoken test, a dance of hot and cold behavior, a mix of flirtation and distance, designed to get you hooked again. They'll try to make you jealous by casually flirting with others or by posting a version of their life that seems full of excitement. Anything to provoke a response, to see if you'll react. But with each calculated move, they reveal their insecurity, their fear of rejection. And the more they play, the more transparent they become. For someone from the past, the game gets even more complex. They might switch between being warm and cold, sending mixed signals to keep you guessing. They want to see if you'll bite, if you'll be the one to make the first move. It's their way of trying to regain the upper hand, of trying to make you feel uncertain and unsure. But the irony is this: they're playing because they feel powerless. They're trying to manipulate you into caring, into chasing, into pursuing them again. But you've already stepped back. You've already outgrown the need for their validation. And while they're caught in their game of emotional tug-of-war, you're standing firm, not moved by their tactics. In the end, the desire to play the game is a reflection of their own fear of vulnerability. They want to control the situation, to keep you in a loop of uncertainty, to make you question your worth. But here's the truth: the longer they play, the less control they have. Because you're no longer interested in playing games. You've learned that real connection isn't about manipulation or proving who has the upper hand. It's about authenticity, respect, and mutual understanding. And that's where you hold the true power. You've already broken free from the game, and while they're stuck trying to manipulate the rules, you're living in the freedom of knowing that you deserve more than their tricks. You're not waiting for their attention anymore. The game is over, and you've already won. The crushing weight of silence. The crushing weight of silence is a force that has the power to break even the most composed individuals. At first, it may seem like an absence, a pause in communication that's easy to dismiss. But soon, that silence morphs into something far more ominous, a presence that cannot be ignored. It's not just a lack of words, it's an unspoken message, a quiet echo that reverberates through every moment without a single sound. And for the one who once had your attention, it becomes unbearable. Imagine the scene. Once, there was the constant hum of conversation, the flow of texts, the excitement of being in each other's orbit. Then, suddenly you pull away. No more messages, no more calls. The rhythm of their life, once punctuated by your presence, is now eerily still. It's the silence that speaks louder than any argument or words ever could. It's a deafening quiet that forces them to face what they once took for granted, and it cuts deeper than rejection or anger ever could. For someone new, this silence creates a void. They may have believed that you were just another presence in their life, easily replaceable, or someone to be dealt with when convenient. But now that you're gone, the weight of their own actions starts to crush them. Every missed text, every moment without your voice, pulls them deeper into their own reflection. It's no longer just about you. It's about what they've lost. The quiet forces them to acknowledge their own emptiness, their own inadequacy. And with every second of silence, they're haunted by the absence of something they never truly appreciated. For someone from the past, the silence is even more intense. The rhythms they once knew, the late-night talks, the playful banter, the apologies, and even the arguments, are now replaced by nothing. They can't escape the weight of what they've lost, and they can't stop thinking about how you were always there, filling the gaps, smoothing over the rough patches. Now, that very silence they took for granted has become a relentless reminder of their own mistakes. It's in every empty moment, every unspoken word, and it forces them to relive the times they ignored your needs, took you for granted, or simply failed to put in the effort. But here's the truth they don't want to face: the silence is not your weakness, it's your strength. It is the most powerful tool in your arsenal, the ultimate sign of your self-respect and independence. You've pulled away because you've realized that you deserve more than to be constantly in the background, more than to be someone's afterthought. You've chosen silence because you no longer need to fill the void for someone who never learned how to appreciate you. The longer the silence stretches, the more it becomes a crushing weight for them. It presses down on them with an intensity they never imagined. They may try to distract themselves, they may fill their time with shallow pursuits, but none of it will make the silence go away. It will linger, haunting them with every passing day, until they're left with nothing but their own regrets and the painful recognition of what they let slip away. For you, this silence is a declaration of your worth. It speaks volumes without a single word being spoken. It says that you no longer need to chase after someone who doesn't understand your value. It's the space where you've chosen yourself over the noise of someone else's neglect. And as they struggle with the absence of your presence, you stand firm, knowing that you've taken back the power they once held over you. So let them stew in the silence. Let it weigh on them like a heavy burden. You're no longer a part of the dynamic they once relied on. You are the silence they can't escape. And in that silence, you've found your strength, your peace, and your independence. The fear that brings them crawling back. The fear that brings them crawling back is a raw, visceral experience, a kind of desperation that strikes deep in the heart, leaving no room for ego or pride. It's the moment when reality hits them like a ton of bricks, and they realize that they might have lost something truly irreplaceable. It's not just regret or longing, it's a crippling fear that haunts their every thought, a fear of never being able to get you back, of seeing you move on for good. Before the silence took hold, they were in control. You were always there, accessible, waiting, and they took it for granted. Perhaps they underestimated you, thinking they had all the time in the world to figure things out. They thought you would always be an option, always be waiting in the wings. But now they're faced with the terrifying prospect of a life without you, a life where your absence has carved out a space that nothing else can fill. This fear doesn't just sneak up on them. It builds like a slow-burning fire, intensifying with each passing day. At first, they may have felt relief, even freedom, from the emotional investment you required. But that fleeting sense of liberation has quickly given way to a gnawing emptiness that they can't escape. The thought of you slipping away, perhaps into someone else's arms, perhaps into a future where they no longer exist, is enough to unravel them. They start to feel the sting of your absence in ways they never anticipated. They think about you constantly, replaying moments you shared, wondering what might have been if they had only given you the attention, the respect, the care you deserved. The fear begins to bubble up, fueled by the growing certainty that you've moved on, that you've found happiness without them. And the longer they stay in this uncomfortable place of doubt and insecurity, the more paralyzed they become by the fear of losing you forever. This fear doesn't just make them restless, it makes them act. Desperation kicks in, and they scramble for any chance to pull you back into their world. They may start sending you messages, hoping for a response, or they might resort to more dramatic tactics, showing up at your door or trying to reconnect through mutual friends. It's no longer about playing games or holding out for control, it's about survival. They fear that if they don't act now, they will lose you for good. But here's the twist: when they come crawling back, it's no longer about their needs or their comfort. They've crossed into a space of vulnerability they can't control. They're no longer the ones in charge of the dynamic, you are. The power has shifted. Where once you may have fought to keep their attention, now they're the ones fighting to get yours. And this is where your strength lies. You've already made your decision. You've chosen to step away, to reclaim your own sense of self-worth, and to move forward. Now, as they come crawling back in fear, you stand strong in your own power, knowing that you no longer need their validation or their attention. Their fear is the fuel for your growth. It's a reflection of their deep realization of your value, the truth that they've only come to understand now that they've faced the possibility of losing you forever. You're not the one who has to chase anymore. They are. And whether you decide to let them back into your life or not is entirely up to you. You are the prize, not the option. And in the end, it's their fear that proves how much you were worth all along. As you reflect on what you've learned, remember this: the true power lies in your ability to walk away and let them feel the void of your absence. When you stop chasing and start valuing yourself, you take control of the situation. It's a reminder that you are not here to be someone's backup or fallback option. You are the prize. Your worth is undeniable, And anyone who realizes that too late will have to come crawling back. But here's the key: you get to decide if they deserve that chance. Don't let desperation or guilt guide your decision. Let your strength, your self-respect, and your growth be the foundation of any future interactions. You've done the work of stepping back, of claiming your independence. Now let them reflect on the consequences of their actions. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who may need to hear this. And remember, in this journey, it's not about playing games, it's about standing firm in your own value. You are worthy of being pursued, but it should be on your terms, when they've proven they can truly appreciate what you bring to the table. Drop a comment below to affirm your commitment to self-worth and empowerment. If you're ready to hold your ground, to make them realize what they've lost, say, "Keep it up," in the comments. Stay strong, stay grounded, and always know your value. They may come crawling back, but only if you allow them to. Until next time, stay empowered and never forget your worth.